Hi, everybody. This is Risa Carlson. I just wanted to say good afternoon, and we're going to be getting started in just a few moments. We're going to let a few more people join us. So good afternoon to everybody. Welcome to this session on Guitar for Kids at Levine Music. I am Risa Carlson, and I'm chair of the guitar department here at Levine. And I've been teaching here at Levine for 21 years, and I've been chair for actually 20 years, which is shocking to me, actually. I've been chair for so long. Guitar is one of those instruments that many of us as adults would love to learn how to play, and um, and how wonderful would it be for our kids to have this skill as they are growing up? So I'm going to stop sharing our little opening screen here, and we're just going to chat. So Levine's guitar department has we have 15 amazing teachers, and they teach a wide variety of styles and ages. And in addition to guitar, in my department, you can also study ukulele, banjo, mandolin, and the electric bass. They all fall in under the guitar umbrella. And before we get started, I am wondering if you would be willing to share just a little bit about yourselves. I'm curious where you're watching from and what ages your kids who may be considering guitar lessons, what ages are they? And I'm also curious what instrument you may have played as a child, if you played guitar or another instrument. And if you could type your answers in the comment section, that would be so helpful. And what I want to remind you is if you have any questions along the way, please go ahead and just submit them in the comment section, and we'll answer them later. I'll save some time at the end for a Q&A. So just to let you know kind of the structure of what we're going to do today, I'm going to go through all of the main questions that parents ask me about getting their kids started with guitar lessons. And I'll also talk a little bit about the various options you can choose from, both private lessons and group classes. And again, I just encourage you to type your questions as they come up. Even if they're answered later, it's okay. It's hard to remember all the questions you had, so just go ahead and type them as you are thinking of them. So thank you so much for being here. So as I mentioned, I've been teaching guitar for actually over 25 years. I've been at Levine for over 20 years. And many of our guitar instructors have similar levels of experience. We offer lessons in classical, in rock, in blues, in jazz, and in all of the various styles in between those. And we use a wide variety of methods. And younger children can start with the Suzuki method, and kids who are ready to read can start with traditional lessons. And I'll talk a little bit more about the differences between those later on. So Levine has been teaching 100% online since March 14. And we have found that online lessons work remarkably well for kids and for adults. But for kids, it's been especially sort of just delightful how quickly they have adapted and taken to the online format. So Levine will be continuing lessons and classes 100% online, at least through December, and then we'll make a decision about what to do after that. We are so excited about this school year, and we can't wait to welcome students and families into the guitar department this year. Our goal as teachers are to make lessons fun and engaging, and they're completely student-centered. And we want your child to feel energized and excited about their lessons and excited to learn to play guitar. So we are looking forward to a really wonderful and successful year teaching your kids. So here are some of the questions that I get from parents, and I'm just going to kind of go through the top questions. The first question I get all the time is the guitar a good instrument to start with? And what this question really is I get this from parents who usually studied piano or violin as a child, and they don't have much experience with the guitar, but their kids are asking for guitar lessons. So really what they're trying to figure out is if guitar is a good starter instrument, or if perhaps their kids should start with piano first and move into guitar later. So here's sort of the key way to think about this. Learning any musical instrument takes a lot of time and focus. And there will be times when that is more difficult for your child than other times. A child will not put as much time and focus into an instrument that he or she is not truly interested in learning. And that's not to say that they can't overcome that. But when the parent is driving the desire for lessons rather than the student, that's when parents find themselves needing to use a lot of reward systems or consequences when their children don't practice, all that kind of stuff. Not to say, I don't mean to say that those won't be necessary even if your child does pick the instrument, but you will find that there will be much more of that if you are picking the instrument and your child really doesn't want to play the instrument, whatever instrument that might be. So I would say let your child be the guide. If they gravitate towards the guitar, then go for it. And our lessons and our curriculum will ensure that they are reading music, they're understanding music, and they're receiving a well-rounded music education. Okay, the second question I get all the time is, what is the right age to start guitar lessons? Okay, so the perfect age is going to vary from child to child. At Levine, you can start as young as 3.5 with our Suzuki method, and starting at around age 6 with traditional lessons. Or this really is when your child can read sentences pretty fluently. And the reason for that is that it's the part of their brain that deciphers this symbol means make this sound, that enables them to do that with music notation as well as with English or Spanish or Chinese or whatever language they can read. The most important thing that your child needs to begin taking structured lessons is the ability to sit for a while, concentrate for a while, and follow directions. Again, the amount of time really varies from age to age. So if your child is 3.5 and you're thinking you want them to start Suzuki lessons, they really just need to be able to sit and concentrate for about 10 to 15 minutes. And our Suzuki teachers are very well versed with how to deal with sort of the attention that waxes and wanes and how to handle the wiggles and all of that. If your child is 6, we would love for them to be able to sit and concentrate for about 20 to 25 minutes, and that's really ideal. And it goes up beyond that. So another thing to consider when you're thinking about what age is the right age to start guitar lessons is that there is a convincing body of research that indicates that there is this window of opportunity from birth to about age 9 for developing a musical sensibility in children. And it's during this time that the brain is developing mental structures and mechanisms associated with processing and understanding music, and they're sort of all in their prime stages of development. So if they're able to start music lessons when they're on the younger side, you're kind of hitting them at that window of opportunity. They can start lessons at any point, and in fact, with guitar, we often see students starting lessons when they're hitting middle school age, because that's when guitar suddenly is the cool instrument to play. So, but if your child is younger and you're not sure, I would say absolutely get started as early as possible. So, so just to give you a few examples of, I wanted to talk a little bit about Suzuki and traditional and what the differences are between those two methods. So in Suzuki, students initially learn by ear, as opposed to learning musical notation. So they're not learning to read the music notes that are written on a page yet, even though, yes, this is a Suzuki book, but this is a more advanced Suzuki book. So they're not reading musical notation. They are listening to their teacher and they're developing their ear. So it's really appropriate for kids who are not reading yet. It's perfect for that. In Suzuki, we talk a lot about the parent, teacher, child triangle. And what this is that the three of us are working together to help the child develop as a musician and actually as a person. And so the parent who needs to take on sort of a formal role of being the home teacher. And this is important even in traditional lessons with younger kids, but in Suzuki, it's very formalized. So there needs to be a parent who can be present or a caregiver who can be present at the lessons and take notes about what needs to be done at home, and then recreate that at home on a daily basis. I will tell you that I teach both traditional and Suzuki, and I am both a traditional and Suzuki parent. I have two kids and I've done both traditional and Suzuki. And I will tell you that as a parent in general, but as a Suzuki parent, it's really important to have a lot of patience and try to be present with your children and be very flexible, because often, it's the very rare day that that your children wake up and everything moves smoothly through the day when you're trying to get practice done, and they know exactly what they need to do, right? One thing after the other, and there's no hiccups along the way, and that so rarely happens. So I would just say to, be willing to roll with whatever is going on for your child during practice. But yeah, so flexibility and patience and the ability to be present and not focus on other things is really helpful. With Suzuki at Levine, students will get one private lesson every week and one group class every week. And the private lessons can be half an hour, 45 minutes, or an hour. Usually for the youngest kids, half an hour is perfect. And the group classes are all 45 minutes long, and they're with a range of ages. So you're in with a group of peers that some are a little bit more advanced and some are a little bit less advanced, and some are a little bit older and some are a little bit younger. It's a little bit like Montessori in that way. And you are learning from your peers in addition to learning from your teacher. So it works really, really well for a lot of kids. I will also describe traditional lessons. So in traditional lessons, students learn, they start out learning how to read musical notation, and then they learn how to play music by reading the music. And so this is why it's really important that they already have that part of their brain started that understands that the symbol means make a sound. And so because that concept just carries right over into music. And younger kids in traditional lessons will still benefit greatly from having parents present if they can be in lessons, or chatting with their teacher right after a lesson, and also helping a lot with practice. We've noticed that the best successes when a child is younger is when a parent is able to help them get through the practice. And for traditional lessons, students have a once a week private lesson. And once students are a little bit more advanced, they can start in ensembles and have that peer group as well. And actually, let me play just a little example. I'm going to share a Suzuki ensemble, and I'm also going to share a traditional ensemble, just so you can kind of get a sense of what that's like. So this is a Suzuki Ensemble, and this is 4 kids and their teacher, who is Doug Rogers, who's a fabulous teacher. And the youngest student in this ensemble is 4. And that is an example of a Suzuki Ensemble. And I just would love to also, let me share one other video, just to give you an example of what a lesson would look like. So especially right now that we are all virtual, this is a lesson. This is actually a lesson with a 4-year-old, so this is also on the younger side. And this is one of my students. And let me just double check one thing. Okay, there we go.
Okay, so this is the second half of B in the waltz. So we start with crazy stacked up chord, but this time we're gonna go backwards. So we start regular, and then we lift off and play open E, and then put the 3 back on, and then put the 4 on, and then opens. Are you ready to try it?
So that is one of the cutest students that I teach. So, so that's what a private lesson looks like. A lot of that online. Okay, so in terms of style, if your child is studying the Suzuki method, all of the music that they'll be learning is classical music. And if they're doing the traditional method, they could do kind of anything. They could do classical and every single contemporary style. All private lesson students in every style and every method get to do performances at least twice a year, and they get access to master classes and workshops and ensembles all year long. Okay, so the next question I am always asked is, should my child take private lessons or a group class? And this is a really important question. You can go in either direction. So I just kind of want to explain the differences between those. So with a private lesson, as you could see from that previous example, the teacher is 100% focused on your child. So the pacing can vary as your child needs. I will say that the pacing in private lesson tends to be faster because we can address issues specifically of just the one child that's in the room as opposed to all the issues that we are dealing with and seeing in all the different kids. And learning in private lesson tends to be a little deeper. We tend to learn things on a deeper level because we have the time to address things on a deeper level. Group classes are a fantastic option for your child if they just want to try out the instrument and you're not sure if they are ready to make a big commitment to it. It's obviously much less of a financial commitment. And all of our group classes are designed to be fun and engaging. They're very supportive and encouraging. So just to give you an example of a few of our group classes, and you can go right to our guitar page to see all of the group classes that we offer, but I just want to highlight a couple. So we have a great class on Saturday mornings that's called Parent and Child Guitar Class. And this is for you to explore learning the guitar with your own child. And this is a great way to connect with your child. It allows you to share the experience of playing together. Kids between the ages of 7 and 12 are perfect for this class. We've had a few sort of more mature 6-year-olds join the class as well. And really what it's designed to do is kind of dip your toes in. It's very low, like you're not doing anything super, super hard. It's just meant to be fun, and let's try it and see how this goes. And those are in 8-week classes, so you can just keep taking 8-week classes, or you can decide that you want to start another class, or you can start private lessons after that. You can just kind of dip your toes in with this class. For kids who want an experience by themselves with no parents involved, we have Guitar Class 1 and 2 for kids. And in this class, kids are learning to read music notation. They're learning to play simple melodies and open position chords, and they're also doing some simple strumming. And this is for kids aged 8 and up. And we also have ukulele for kids, which is a fantastic class. Ukulele, it's surprising how quickly you can play all the songs that you want to play on ukulele. It's like it happens so quickly. So you learn basic chords, you learn strumming patterns and simple melodies, and kind of the building blocks of music and note reading in this class. We have Ukulele for Kids 1 and 2. And so those are really fantastic options. Once your child has a little experience, we've got lots of ensembles. And let me actually play for you an ensemble that is a little bit more advanced. This is an ensemble uh, for ages 11 to 18. And this is a really cool ensemble. They were working on this crazy piece called Cuban Landscape with Rain, which is a piece that is supposed to depict a rainstorm in Cuba. And they were featured at the Guitar Foundation of America's Virtual Guitar Orchestra Spotlight. So here is that. So, and that's just a little example. That part was when the rain starts, and you can see from the rain effect in the background that our audiovisual maestro, Aaron Percy, was so brilliantly adding in weather effects. So, okay, and then also for teenagers, once they can do a little bit, we have a great class called Singing with Guitar, where students are learning how to accompany themselves with finger picking arpeggio style while they're singing. And they explore all different kinds of repertoire. They explore like jazz and pop and rock and classical and all different kinds of things. So, okay, so the next question I get from parents is, how much time should my child practice? This is a really important question. I would say more important than how much time they practice is how consistently they practice. How many days a week should they practice? And ideally, your child should practice every single day. I always, in every placement session that I have, and we'll talk a little bit about that in a minute, but every time I meet a new student, I always say that you only have to practice on the days that you wake up. And that's it. If you practice on those days, you will become amazing. So it's really more about the consistency rather than how much you're doing on a particular day. Ideally, we want to get to practicing every day about the same number of minutes as your lesson. So if you're taking a half an hour lesson, it should be, between 20 and 30 minutes. If you're taking a 45-minute lesson, between a half an hour and 45 minutes, that kind of thing. But again, consistency, doing it every day, is more important than the length. And a little bit of this depends on the age of your child. So if you're on the younger side, I would say getting 10 minutes is amazing. So if you're a Suzuki kid and you're 3.5 and you're getting 10 minutes every day, you're going to be amazed at how quickly they improve with 10 minutes a day. But if you're a 12-year-old, you should be practicing at least a half an hour every day. Okay, if you can. But again, practicing every day, even 10, 15 minutes as an older kid, is better than skipping days and practicing like an hour on every other day. So, and the reason is that you're training your muscles to do something new. It's more analogous to learning a language than it is to like cramming for a test. And so the more often you do it, and the more often you activate the parts of your brain that are focused on learning this, the easier it will all become and the faster it'll improve. Okay, so the next question is, do I need a musical background to help my child with lessons? And the answer is nope, you don't. You don't have to know anything about music. The main thing I would say, if you don't have a musical background, try to come to a few lessons and sit in just sort of in the corner as a fly on the wall and just listen to what's happening in the lesson. So, and listen to the practice suggestions that your teacher is giving your child. So the teacher may be saying, this spot that's really hard, I would really like for you to play this 5 times really slowly before you play the whole piece and run through the whole piece. And so when you hear that, kids are famous for not wanting to repeat things over and over. And so if you can help them with that at home, that will make a huge difference. But you don't need to have a musical background to do this. You just need to sort of be able to be an assistant at home. Okay, so, and the next question is kind of related to that, which is, can my child do this on their own, or do I need to help? So a good rule of thumb for this is, are you comfortable with letting your child cross the street without any instructions, on their own, without you holding their hand, and without you even looking out the window to make sure that they cross the street and look both ways before they cross? If you're comfortable with that, your child is mature enough to practice on their own. So if they're not at that age, at that stage yet, then your child is going to need help with practicing. They might need more of like you to be a coach and just sort of remind them or ask them questions. What did your teacher want you to do here? Do you remember sort of the practice technique that the teacher wanted you to do there? Or they might need you to actually, if they're much younger, they might need you to actually construct the lesson and say, let's start with this piece and let's do this first 3 times. And then now let's do this piece. And remember, we're going to focus on this one spot. So they might need, depending on the age, that's sort of the level of engagement you'll need to be prepared for. So, okay, what happens if we get started and my child stops practicing? Okay, so this happens. So first of all, it takes a while to sort of find a practice habit and figure out the best way to accomplish practicing. Many children at first, maybe not initially, but after sort of the new exciting newness has worn off, they need a little bit of an external incentive sometimes. So this could be like a sticker chart. A lot of teachers will use their own sticker charts or reward systems, or now that we're online, we'll use digital badging. We'll use all sorts of incentives to help our kids our students feel excited about practicing. But as a parent, you can do the same. So with my kids at one point, when they were going through sort of a little bit of a less excited about practice stage, we had a chart that I had just found online, and we just put a sticker for every day that they practiced. And when they reached like 15 practices, we got to take a trip out to get ice cream, and that was it. And we would have probably done it anyway, but we just were able to say, like, we're doing this because you are such a good practicer and we're so proud of you for practicing. So, and that really worked for that period of time. So I think the trick is to kind of figure out a balance between like developing a sense of commitment in your child, for learning the instrument. And then also, we also don't want to get to the point where we're torturing our kids either. So it's a delicate balance. Usually what I would say is, when you're just starting out, sit down and make a commitment with your child. So we're going to do this for 6 months, and then we're going to kind of see what happens. Or we're going to do this for this school year, and then we're going to kind of see what happens. Try to make the commitment, at least initially, a little bit longer term. And the reason for that is that it's exciting at first, and then the minute the child hits that first really challenging spot where they really have to work hard to get past it, often you'll hear the child say, I don't want to practice anymore. I don't want to play guitar anymore. I want to quit. And all it means is that it's hard, and practice is hard. And I mean, if we think about how as adults, it's so hard for us to do something every single day, like get up and exercise every single day. Imagine for a 7-year-old child or a 9-year-old child or an 11-year-old child, how hard it is for them to be committed and excited about doing anything every single day. It's hard, especially when it feels challenging, and especially when it's like they're not seeing a lot of immediate gratification from it. So that's the reason to make sort of a longer term commitment, to allow them to kind of reach that first wall and then practice their way through it. And then they need to do that at least 2 or 3 times before they realize that this is how it goes. This is the learning process. And when it feels hard, all they need to do is continue to try and continue to practice. And soon it will be easy. So everything that feels easy at one time felt hard. So that is a really important question. Okay, so what kind of teacher is best for my child? This is the $1 million question, right? So we want our kids to have great experiences, especially if you're going to have a one-on-one experience with a teacher. So at Levine, we take the guesswork out of this for you completely. So the process, if you want to do private lessons, is you schedule a placement session with me or with Alexandra Villoteau if you're doing Suzuki guitar, or me if you're doing any other kind of guitar, or ukulele, or banjo or mandolin or electric bass. And we do this over Zoom, and we'll ask you all sorts of questions, and we'll recommend the teacher that will be the best fit for your child. So we want to find out, like, what's got your child interested in guitar? What motivates your child, especially when something feels extra challenging? What are your child's goals? Your child may or may not have specific goals, but if they do, like if they want to play in their high school's jazz band, or if they want to play in the talent show in June, or there's all sorts of goals that kids could have, or if they just want to play with their uncle when their uncle comes to visit. Those are all things that we want to know. We want to get a sense of the style of music your child wants to learn, and often kids don't know what style of music they want to learn. So in the placement session, we'll be giving all sorts of examples. I'll demonstrate all sorts of examples to sort of narrow that down. We want to know what kind of feedback your child learns best with. So do they want to hear directly what is great and what needs work, or do they need it to be more positively focused? We want to know what kind of pacing your child prefers in instruction. So do they like things to move quickly, or do they want to kind of stay and work on something for a longer period of time? And we want to know the qualities that your child responds best to in teachers. So we want to know, does your child really love like energetic and excited teachers? Does your child like more gentle and nurturing teachers? Does your child thrive with certain qualities or not thrive with other qualities? So that's all important. And then after we make a recommendation, then your child can have a trial lesson directly with the teacher that we think is the best fit before you register. And so that's really important, because we want to make sure, okay, we think this is the best fit, but we want to know if you think this is the best fit too. So, so you have the option of having a trial lesson. Okay, so now I want to talk about the last thing, which is what kind of guitar should I get? Okay, so this is important. There are surprisingly so many different styles of guitar. There are steel string guitars, there are electric guitars, there are nylon string guitars, and there are many different styles of body in steel string and electric. And nylon string tends to be the most standardized. And I teach classical guitar, so that's what I have available to show you. So I'm going to show you a whole bunch of different guitars. So, and then after this, I'm going to take questions. So let me start with, first of all, you need to know how big of a guitar to get. So this is a 1/4 size guitar. It's an itty bitty teeny tiny little guitar. And this is a really great guitar for our smallest students. This is actually a 1/4 size. We have a 1/8 somewhere, but I don't have it out. So this is actually, we can even get a smaller guitar than this. So if your child is 3 and on the small side, they can start on an even smaller guitar. So that's a 1/4 size. And just to give you a sense here, this is a 1/2 size. And this is a great guitar for kids who are like in between 3.5 to 4 feet tall. A good rule of thumb is that you can have them stand up and you can measure, this is going to be really funny, you can measure your belly button to the floor length, and that will give you sort of a window of how long you want the string length to be. And yeah, I will ask you for that if you come and have a placement session with me. So this is a 1/2 size. Then we have a 3/4 size guitar, and this is a really fantastic little guitar that is it's great for like ages 9 to 10 to 11. It just depends on how tall your child is. And then we have a full-size guitar, and a full-size guitar works when your child is 5 feet or taller. So you can just go right to a full-size guitar if you have a full-sized 5 foot or taller child. So okay, so I hope this was helpful. And I'm going to just look at some of the questions that came through. Oh, I see. So there were some people who answered, I'm a kid, but I play trumpet, guitar, piano, clarinet, and flute. Fantastic. That is amazing. I love that you play all those instruments. And we have another one who said that she played ukulele, piano, and guitar. Oh, wow. That's so fantastic. So if you have any questions at any point, feel free to email me. And I think the wonderful Molly Carey, who is behind the scenes, is going to put my email address, which is rcarlson@levinemusic.org. Feel free to email me with any questions. And you can also explore our page on Levine's website. Yeah. And we have a bunch of videos up on Levine's Facebook page as well. And if you have any other questions, I'm more than happy to answer. So, and actually, one other thing, we are doing a webinar at 5 p.m. on what online instruction feels like and looks like, and how to really set up your home studio, so your at home environment, so you can have great online lessons. And so that's happening at 5 p.m. this evening, and that would be a great thing to check out if you are interested in exploring. Okay. It doesn't look like we have many questions right now, but I'm always available to answer any emails. I feel like often when I go to these sessions, I feel like I think of all my questions later. So if you have anything that comes up, please feel free to email me. And even if you just are not sure, but you kind of have some preliminary questions, feel free to just reach out at any point. Okay. So while we're just waiting for a few more questions, I can show you something else that's kind of funny. So one of the things that I discovered in online lessons when I'm teaching, especially younger kids, is that they have the greatest time making faces at the camera. So I can show you something if I can find this example. Let me see. Oh, here it is. Okay, hang on. All right. So I was trying very hard to be very serious during this lesson, but my student was trying very hard to make me laugh. So I'll show you a little example of what he was doing.
This is the beginning of Andante, and we start with 2D basses, then 2A basses, then 2D basses, then 1A bass. So it goes like this.
So yeah, so that is one of my funniest, one of my students with the best senses of humor that loves to try to make me laugh in every lesson. So if no one has any questions, we can go ahead and close this. But I really hope that we will, if anything comes up in the meantime, just feel free to send me a quick email, or you can even find my extension on Levine's website, I'm sure, and I'll reach out right away. So thank you all for coming. I really appreciate it.